G'day guys, Ace here again. I've done some writing, and if you like, I'll share it with you. This is the picture. That way actually. Just some clouds. It's nothing particularly impressive. It's from the Mavis Wheatstone files, which is a couple of hundred slides. I got 1,000 really. And that's one of the ones I printed off. So let's read. This is kind of in the same style as my last one, if you heard that. Friday night at the Dogs, the Greyhounds, that is, St. Pete's, Florida, with a hodgepodge assemblage of ex-New York semi-elite retirees from a time and a place that ended decades ago, along with their former names and businesses and reputations, sold up and packed up for warmer climates and favourable taxation laws, and the general opportunity to feel like a rascal just one more time. These old gents divorced or in the process thereof, scouting the barren landscape, so to speak, for some bird thirsty enough to buy whatever they're selling, inevitably finding fellow punters with glasses empty and full wallets, just looking for a good time in old St. Pete's, the real playground of these United States. Chain-smoking darlings, going by the name of Cindy or Barbie or Darlene, collect bets and distribute tickets from behind small perspex windows. The saccharine cold stale air of recycled air conditioning pours out of the small openings, quickly dissipating in the warm humid air of the near beachside track. Good luck, Darl, they say with husky chime, as they've done 1,000 times over on what seems like 1,000 years to these strangely hopeful punters. All who have a hot tip from a guy who knows a guy who heard a tip or a rumour from a fellow close to the trainer of some obscure name mutt racing later in the evening. The lights come on in the well raced track, compensating somewhat for the grey-blue clouds intermixing with the setting sun, causing a day-glow yellow to stream across the sky. Unnerved mutts with muzzles, trained by rotund men in bowler hats and peaky hats and yellow trucker hats, like a congregation of bum-looking outcasts finding a place in all the places at their strog track. They're chewing tobacco and smoking hand-rolled smokes and coughing up lungs as they wheeze between sentences, talking to the fellow parishioners of this odd-fellowed collection of men. A retired G-man from some three-letter agency from Virginia or Vermont or Maine tucks his crisp polo back into his crisp iron-straight chinos, chatting nonchalantly to an ex-con from a dusty flyover state, sharing a black coffee from a dented green thermos, the seemingly off-placed pair, with the off-placed hot drink in this wickedly humid patch of US soil only solidifying the strange ways and the strange way that Florida had on these men. These men chatting about their estranged daughters and their nincompoop husbands, their enlarged prostates and the magical way the girls these days wore those short gym shorts, and how this feminism business is wonderful, until, of course, it was your wife or your daughter making decisions for herself, walking around like some inappropriately dressed skimpy from Lucky's. It's a Friday night, and that means cheap roast meals from the dog park diner. These men shuffle like high schoolers in a school dining hall, trays in hand as they shuffle in an orderly queue to receive their portion of surprisingly delicious roast beef with 3 veg and a splash of gravy, not that the meat needed any extra moisture. Something of a social hierarchy had been established, unofficially and unenforced, of course, the gents sitting in well-established cliques, usually around their favourite trainer or breeder of fine greyhound racing, regaling stories of past wins, past fortunes and misfortunes, enjoying the delicious meal chewed slowly between false teeth and heartburn and popping aspirin for cholesterol-clogged arteries. A sad sight to some, these regular track meets were way more than just a cheeky punt, a cheap meal and a sneaky drink. Oh no, it harked back to a time of the Freemasons and the supper clubs where expense accounts... It harked back to the time of Freemasons and the supper clubs, the expense accounts, and the time where these men held sway over the wooden-walled boardrooms of New York. A place where, in some small way, their opinions still meant something and the social hierarchy still held sway, despite what these hoity-toity university students with their blue hair and their nose rings and their equal opportunity said. This was a place where odds were esteemed and luck placed. It was a time, a place, where these men still had something to say to people who still wanted to listen. That's it. Little ditty. It's fun to write. If you liked it, subscribe.